And welcome back to the conversation, the DMGB conversation. And for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, that stands for Doesn't Matter, Get Better. It's the philosophy that we bring to this show is that every day we've got to find a way to get 1% better. And I guarantee you that with my next guest, you will definitely find a way to get better. Her energy is already jumping off the screen at me. So without any further ado, Annie, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, how are you, Mark? How is everything? I am here to get 1% at least better today. I am psyched to be here. This is so awesome.
Much appreciated. I'm glad for your excitement, and I know that this will be a great conversation. But to give people a background about how we connected, which is the way everybody should be connecting now, LinkedIn is the way to network. And so I was working with a friend of Annie's, and I was teaching him something about LinkedIn. Annie heard about me from a group of other people that had created a post about me just prior to my birthday. We connected. Immediately set up a virtual coffee, off and running. And then I said, we have to do this again and we have to record it for an episode. So
in fact, what you said, Mark, was stop talking. Stop talking. What's the rest of your week look like? I need you to come on my podcast, to which I was completely floored and excited. And I said, of course, let's do this.
Yeah, exactly. Just when you know, you know. So for the audience, give everybody kind of the Cliff Notes version of where you come from, how you got to where you are and what you're doing.
Sure. So I'm a Philly girl, born and raised on the playgrounds where I spend most of my days. You know how that goes. Hold
on. Holy cow. Hold on. Today is actually the 30th anniversary of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Wait a minute. And I just said that randomly?
You did. That is very funny.
Oh my God. I swear to God, I didn't know that. I swear to God.
That's awesome.
And you know what? You're right. Because I remember being about, I'm not going to say how old I was, but I was young when that first came on and it was my absolute that's really crazy. That's like my shared.
West Philadelphia, born and raised.
That's Philly girl. Philly, man. So I'm a Philly girl, born and raised. I went to school in Boston and Boston University. And I got into pharma, the pharma medical space, and went through a couple of lifetimes. I was married. I had a couple kids who are incredible. And I told you when we met the first time that I am a cat. I've lived 9 lives for sure. I've been through the ringer and back again. I've gone to hell and back, honestly, in my life. I've experienced a lot of things which we can get into. But I was feeling really sort of pushed down in my job. I went back to school at 40 because I'm insane. So I went back to get my executive MBA at 40. So when someone suggested that, I said, are you out of your goddamn mind? That's never happening. Right. I'm not going to school. I'm 40 years old. I have, several kids at home under 10. How am I going to pay for it? But I did it all. And I went, and it was a transformative, situation. And I'm so glad that I did it. It was the best 150 grand I ever spent. And it was a hellish time, but I met some really incredible people. And in Mark finding myself, I figured out my purpose and mission in life. And that is very similar to this show, which is to make people better. And one of my gifts is finding people's strengths. And I am an empath at heart. I really feel other people and I feel sort of what they're feeling, what they've been through. And there's rarely a situation that I can't understand and relate to. And I just have a really easy time kind of getting to know people. People say they've, feel that they've known me for a long time and I have a lot of energy. So I'm like, what can I do with my life? Selling pharmaceuticals to doctors is, it's a good job. It's not that. It's just, what am I doing to impact the world? So in the midst of everything with school and all of my life, School of Hard Knocks experience, I started Leib LLC, which started off in the pharma space, but now it has morphed into making people their best selves. So I meet with professionals and teams, but mostly one-on-one professionals, to talk about how they can put their best foot forward, be their most authentic self. And the way that I present myself is not, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not even, I don't have coaching letters after my name. Here's what I have. I have life experience. When I say the school of hard knocks, I'm telling you that there is rarely a situation that somebody can come to me with where I'm like, I have no idea what to do. Like, it's just, I feel it. It's just, it doesn't happen, you know?
Sure.
If somebody wants to stump me, they can certainly try. But in all seriousness, it's about coming back to center. And I can get into sort of more of what I do.
So before we get into all that, I think I want to ask you a question, because you said you're an empath, and to me, empathy is something that's required of leaders, right? But
Absolutely.
Are you empathetic because you've gone through so many things so you can relate? Or is that a trait that was innately in you because of where you come from and who you are, and then all of those experiences helped you be better at being empathetic? Which one came first?
That's the chicken or the egg. That is such a good question. I'm an actual empath. Like, people say that they're empathic, and many people have empathy, and empathy is an amazing thing and is important in leadership, but an actual empath in that I feel other people's feelings.
Gotcha.
So I don't have paranormal experiences. I mean, so that is, if you look up the definition there, they do have paranormal, and that's fine for some people.
Right.
I don't have that, but I actually do take on people's feelings, and I feel their pain and their suffering. And so I was born that way, but then I went through so many circumstances in my life and made some poor decisions. And then also some things happened, you know, just life happens. And with that, I have an incredible amount of empathy for things that people go through, and compassion for people that are stuck. And I understand what it's like to be stuck. I understand what it's like to wear a cloak. I told you that last time, sort of wear a cloak of darkness.
Talk about that feeling a little bit. Talk about what feeling stuck feels like for you, people you've worked with, and what that means for them in that space.
Sure. Well, it's, for me, when I was in the darkest ages, the darkest time in my life, the way I described it, Mark, was I was underwater walking through sand. There's no, so I was suffocating and I couldn't walk, but I was trying to walk through sand. And it was this unbelievable weight on me, like an actual cloak that I wore around. And this is the craziest part. I started to see in black and white instead of seeing life in color. So, and that's how it felt to me. Like, I'm seeing things in a black and white television through, you know, this lens. Mm-hmm. And the way that I got better, obviously through therapy and through really hard work and sort of getting to the root of what was upsetting me. And that's another story we could get into. But, you know, then when I started to see color again, that's when I knew I was sort of rising from the ashes out of it. And that was the darkest time. That's like super, super stuck. That's like major, you know, you need some serious intervention there. There's people that are just going through their life every day that are just going through their life, and they're not living their life. They're breathing and they're going through the motions and they're doing their thing every day, but they're not in the moment at all. They're worried about 20 years down the road in retirement. They're worried about what happened, and they're carrying the weight of things that would have happened 10, 25 years ago. And so there's no moment of the moment. There's no centeredness. There's no living, breathing in that time. And that takes away joy in life. So I have empathy for those stuck people where I'm like, okay, look, this is why you don't have to live like this. This is why, you know, I've been there. I have felt this. I have felt the darkness, and I've also felt just kind of stuck where I'm like, what am I doing in my life? What's my plan? And you and I talked about that too, where, you know, sometimes you reach a point and you're like, this just isn't right for me. Like, this is, I got to blow this up a little bit. And people like me and you kind of, someone called me a wrecking ball one time. Like, I put a wrecking ball through my life. It just wasn't right. It wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I needed to break it down to the bottom, you know, rock bottom, and then build it back up.
That's a super impactful thing, because some people go through a midlife crisis, as they would say, or some people have bad things happen to them along a sequence. You and I shared, and I'm not afraid to share my story, but I ended a 10-year career in college football coaching right as my marriage ended. And like, my entire life that I had built, I was 32 years old. And the career that I had built, the family life that I had put together, I was looking at it almost like an out-of-body experience, going, how did I get here?
Were you watching yourself like in a movie?
And where am I going with this? Am I really I started to have all of those questions. And that's where, I use the term, I literally struck a match to my entire life, because it was a restart. It was a total restart. And that's a hard, scary thing to do. How did you, as you've lived 9 lives and you took the wrecking ball to it, what were some of those feelings of starting over, and how did you deal with them?
So it seems like yours was a little bit more deliberate. Mine was less deliberate, and I'll tell you why. And I've never shared this, but I'm ready to share it today. So the Mark Show is the time to do this. DMGB.
The DMGB show. Here we go.
Better. So I'm going to get 1% better today. So I was actually misdiagnosed for 25 years with depression and anxiety.
Wow.
And so I was put on medication that was keeping me in it instead of getting me out of it. And in fact, I have bipolar 2, which is the kind of bipolar that is not like going and spending $10,000. It's not like crazy mania and crazy depression. It's actually like little cycles like this. So my mania presented as aggression, or not even aggression, but like aggravation, like irritability. And then my depression presented as sadness. So they didn't realize, because I wasn't diagnosed correctly. So they were keeping me in.
And so from what I know about depression, what you said about feeling underwater and walking through sand, that sounds like how I've heard people describe depression. So I get that, but that's crazy, because then you're on the medication that actually keeps you feeling that way. It doesn't make you better.
Yeah. And many people, this is one of I advocate really strongly for mental health awareness. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is getting correct diagnoses, because too many people are misdiagnosed. Many, many, many more people have bipolar 2 and bipolar 3 they have now too, which is even a little more slight. And many people are not diagnosed with it. So they're taking these antidepressants, which are good for some people, for the people that truly have the depression and anxiety. But when you do have a slight issue like this, it actually keeps you in that rapid cycling where you can't get out of it. So sometimes you get serotonin syndrome, and there's lots of medical stuff that happens. But thank God but what happened was I blew up my life. I split up with my husband and lost a lot of friends along the way. I was fighting with my parents because they couldn't understand where I was. And I didn't really understand where I was, but I felt clear. I felt like, okay, this is what I want. And I didn't realize sort of the demise of everything. And when that happened, I finally my dad found this doctor for me, and I finally went to the right doctor, and she diagnosed me correctly and was like, Annie, from what you're telling me, and now I've seen you for a month or two, like I can see what's going on. And once she put me on the right medication, I came out of it and could see color again and could start to build my life again. But from 2014 on.
That's amazing. So, because that, like, I had assumed that we were similar, but so how do you then look back and say, okay, here's the wreckage of everything that's happened, right? You got to own that, right? You got to own and own the fact that you're where you should be right now. Like, yeah, that all happened for a reason, which is exactly why I'm here, and then move forward from there.
Mark, that takes a lot of inner work, because you don't go through something like that and damage other people and affect other people, including your children, and change people's lives and completely wreck your whole life. It doesn't come easily. There's a lot of shame and guilt that comes along with that. So with the right therapy and journaling and efforts and introspection and tons of reflection, I've shed myself and rid myself of that guilt and shame. And my ex-husband and I have a great relationship. We're amazing co-parents. I mean, like, I don't really even know better co-parents than we are. We totally are on the same page, kids first. And it doesn't mean it's always simple, but I can tell you that it wasn't like it was like I was 25 and it was just me. And my parents were worried about me. This is like, there's a marriage, there's 2 children that are 2 and 4, there's friends involved, mutual friends, there's families that are involved. So it was a lot of different things that I sort of blew up. And in retrospect, of course, I wish I had done it differently, but you know what? I've forgiven myself, because I was really sick. And there's no way, Mark, that I could be here helping people the way that I do. There's no possible way if I didn't go through that. Like I had to go through that to kind of rise from the depths of despair and say like, I've been there, man. Like, this is what you got to do. You know, like I feel you. And, or you're headed down that path, or I see that you're really stuck in this place. Let's find some mindfulness and gratitude and all that stuff. So, you know, I do really today on, you know, September 16th, 2020, I can honestly from my heart tell you that I have rid myself of 99.9% of that guilt and shame. You know, of course, sometimes I wish we were one family and, you know, the kids could have their parents together, but I also think my kids have a really blessed life. And I don't think I would have ever gotten healthy had I stayed in that situation. So
it takes it. Well, so that, I think that to me is a big part of getting rid of guilt or not shaming yourself because of what happened, even though you may feel responsible for it. The only way to move forward is to, number one, forgive yourself, and forgiveness is important at every level of relationship, whether it be with yourself or with other people. But I come from a divorced family. Like, to me, it takes a village to raise your kids. And I know plenty of people who grew up with two parents in the house that grew up to be just as screwed up as anybody else in the world, actually, because they had two parents in the house, because they were never really true to themselves because they only worried about keeping this thing together instead of being honest with who they were as people and making the changes and doing the things that were necessary to be healthy. So, I mean, you know, mental health is one, but just, you know, being honest with yourself.
Health. Yeah. The other part is like, there's, you know, it's not like you throw the match on it and, as you know, and it blows up and then like life just starts to build. Like you have to do the work. Like I work every day to be the best person I can be, to be my truest, authentic self, which I'm finally finding. It took a lot of years and there was a lot of guilt and shame attached. And like, I have to work on it every day with journaling and reflection. But you know what I can say now? Like I can say that people look at me, including my ex, including, you know, my ex's family, who I'm still very close with. And they say like, she doesn't lie. She's a really good person. She does the next best thing. She does the right thing. She makes good decisions. Like these are things that take time for people to see in you. And you have to do the work and take those steps. And you can't just stop and say life is life. Like if you want to be seen as your true authentic self, you have to be a true authentic person.
It's amazing because I think most people don't even realize how much their parents screwed them up. So forget about like, you know, what you've done to yourself. Yeah. But like the things that get passed on to you, because mental health is not like, it's like, you know, oh, people have been talking about mental health for years. Like really, it hasn't been okay to talk about mental health until recently. So like accepting the fact that, well, you know, we did the best we could at the time with what we had. It's not really an acceptable answer anymore. Like just because that's the way you were raised doesn't mean the way you should raise other people. And it should be a constant evolution of improvement. It's okay for them to have done it that way because that's what they know, but that doesn't make it right for you to do it because you should be doing better than they did.
Exactly. And you know, that comes to like, my parents really did do the best they could with what they had to work with, and stuff was passed on to them too, you know, like and I'm 41, you know, my parents are in their early 70s. So they're of a generation that was a different time. And, you know, they did their best and everybody has issues and everybody has stuff, but that's another thing in my position and in yours. Like there's a real forgiveness in that and an understanding and empathy and compassion for them and what they tried to do. They didn't, they're not bad people.
They didn't do it on purpose.
But you know what? The key is with our kids, like we need to be different, like you said. And that's part of the reason that my ex and I are the way we are, because we wanted to break the cycle. And we were awesome. There's no way, it doesn't matter how we feel about each other. Our kids are not going to live in this bubble world. They know we're divorced. They know we're not going to be back together. They know that their parents are divorced and split, right? And they know we're never going to be under one house. But here's what they know. We care for one another. We respect one another. We love them more than anything. We want the best for them. And we will do anything we have to do in order to get the best for them and be the best for them.
And so that will make them far healthier and far more successful than any other thing that could happen to do that. So I mean, that's It's awesome. It's awesome to hear that. So taking all of that and being where you are now, what do you find is the fundamentals that you help people with? Like, obviously the mental health piece and being present and learning those things from that is great. But what do you see in people that you're working with that are stuck, that are similarities across the industries or across positions that you help people with?
Great question. By far, it's going to sound obvious that they're not living in this moment. There's no, they're too stuck ahead or behind, and they're not enjoying their life now. And it's like, well, I don't have time for mindfulness. Like, look, Mark, here's the bottom line. I am not a mindful person. I was not born mindful. I am not wired to be in the present. I'm all over the map. I have tons of energy. I'm thinking about this and that. In order for me to be right here, this I've had to practice. So people forget, and then they get ungrateful. And it's not like they're saying, oh, I don't care. It's just that they're not saying I do care. They're not saying I am grateful. And you have to stop and get back to your breath. If you don't come back, I have one tattoo on me. My dad hopefully won't watch this. I don't think he knows yet. I'm almost 42 years old next month, and I don't want him to know because I'm Jewish. You know, you're not supposed to do that anyway. But like,
trust me, I know. I got both.
So you know, right? So you broke the rules like me. Yeah. But the bottom line is it's hidden, and you can't see it unless I'm scantily clad. Sure. So the bottom line is that it says one thing. It says breath, and it's in my writing. And I have it on me because no matter what, I'm stripped, whatever is taken from me, I always can come back to my breath. I always have that. And it comes, and that was before I got into mindfulness. So when it comes down to it, we can always come back to center if we just focus on your breath. If you truly focus on your breathing, your in and out and your inhalation and exhalation, you won't be able to focus on anything else. You will be right there in the present moment with your body and your soul. And people just don't realize that they do have time to do this. And if you don't have time, you need to make time because it will improve your life. So there's that. And then I would say just organization in life, just prioritizing and learning how to sort of put things in order of what's important and getting grateful, gratitude. People don't, for the most part, people don't wake up and write a gratitude list. I mean, I know maybe a handful of people that do in my community where we're all, coaching and in sure. that space. I mean, it's a really amazing practice, like in order to get up and write your gratitude list in the morning and make a gratitude journal and write every day on how you're feeling and, sort of be able to look at the present moment. My son's getting water, which is very loud, so I apologize. I
can't even hear it, so it's all
okay.
good.
I don't know if you thought like my son was
again, this is the conversation. This is the conversation. Yeah, so, whatever happens, happens.
So, it sounded like he was like going to the bathroom next to me. So anyway, I think that very few people realize that in order to live a life of contentment, in order to find that happy.
Is it peace? Can you say that it's peace? Is that the right way to?
I call it contentment because even if you're content, it doesn't mean you're always at peace. So
I
peace
like
is
that.
Is a great place. See, knowledge drops left and right.
Yeah.
Peace is a wonderful place to be, but I would be lying to you, and I don't lie. I would be lying to you if I told you that I was always at peace. That's a really evolved place to get. Contentment is where you can say, like, I don't believe, Mark, this is a whole other Annie thing, like living with AnnieTude. That's my whole mantra. Like a whole other
AnnieTude.
AnnieTude, that's right. Got a little sass too. It's that I don't believe happiness is a state of mind. Like some people say, I really just want to be happy. And you know what I say? It's not a state of mind where you can just be happy. That's not the way it works in my brain. In my brain, it works in moments. So you have to find and grasp onto and hold onto the moments of happiness. The belly laugh with your kid that morning. When you fell halfway down the stairs and you can't believe you slipped and your kids are hysterical laughing at you. Sure. Whatever that moment is, that success story that you have, or that just moment that you can grasp onto, the air in your face, the wind in your face when you're having coffee outside 5 o'clock in the morning because you woke up to breathe in the air. Whatever those moments are that you can grasp onto, that's happiness to me. So when people want to get to this like state of mind, I don't know, maybe I'm the wrong person for you, because I don't believe there's this happy state of mind unless you're on drugs, you know, like if you're on like hallucinogenics,
I mean, I'm not saying don't do that.
I'm not saying you gotta do what you gotta do. But what I'm saying is like, I said to my best friend one day, I'm like, you're not gonna be happy all the time. If you're happy all the time, you're on cocaine. Like that's the bottom line. Like, you know, there's no happy all the time, right? There's grateful.
I love what you're saying, but I want to unpack this a little bit, because your energy is infectious, obviously, and I can tell that you are very goal oriented and driven in building a plan. So to me, I think where I struggle is being content. I don't want to be content. I want to be striving for the next thing. I want to constantly be, because that's the achiever in me, right? That's I'm sure some therapists would break that down and tell me that I've got major fundamental issues with that, because that's how I find self-worth and all those kinds of things. But for me, like being content, it's hard to not confuse that with just saying, well, I'm just okay with everything that's given to me. I'll just accept everything.
I'm going to tell you what you're confusing. You're confusing contentment with complacency.
Ah, okay? Nicely done.
Nicely done. You like that English in me, right?
Well done.
So my mom is going to be so proud when she hears this. She was an honors English teacher for many years. She's going to say, boom, she got that. No, but so complacency is when you say everything is just okay. And I'm okay with things being okay. I'm complacent. Sometimes you take things for granted when you're complacent. Sometimes you're just like, eh. And you and I are not kind of people.
And this is what I've said to everybody that I've ever coached, is that complacency is an illusion. It's not a real thing. You're either taking the steps every day and doing the work, which is going to get you better, or if you're choosing not to do those things, you think you're going to stay the same, but you're not. You're actually deteriorating. You're actually losing. There is no complacency. Yep. This plane that people think they can live on is not a real thing. You're either doing this or doing this every day. And that's all based on the decision to do the work or not do the work.
You're exactly right. That you nailed. I completely agree with you. And I think you're right. And the best way to describe that is to just say that people end up in complacency. I don't think anybody strives for complacency. You know, not everybody.
Well, they feel stuck, right? Stuck is a great way to feel like you're complacent. You feel like you have nowhere to grow. You don't see any vision for where your upward movement, whether it be in an organization or in life. You're not holding on to those moments of happiness, right? Not being happy all the time, but the moments of happiness. And so when you lose those moments, you're not grateful for anything. You're not staying present, and you see no vision for yourself in the future. You're like, well, I'll just sit here. This is just where I'll be.
So you're talking about one thing that's really important that we haven't brought up, and that's, well, you said it once, but self-worth. So when you think you're okay just being sort of there in that center, you know, that sort of comes back to like, do you value yourself? Like, where do you think you should be going? What do you want to do? And what are your goals? And if you don't care, then you're depressed. So there really is, you're exactly right. There really is no bottom out center. There's always something going on. And, you know, I have the stuff that makes me content is my drive and ambition and my will to succeed and my grit. You know, all of those things that are a practice every day for me and things that I strive for, that's what makes me content. That fulfills me. So I'm not trying to win this game. Like, there's no Annie Super Bowl, you know, I'm playing the game now. Like, I'm playing, and like every day I'm playing. I'm not trying to get to this big end game result where I win and I did it. You know, it's like, no, I'm doing it right now.
Well, it's the infinite game, right? Like, that's Simon Sinek. It's the infinite game that never ends. Like, he talks about it in business, is like, people always want to pull in sports analogies to business, which I do as well because of my sports background, because there are a ton of parallels to how you can use the fundamentals that make you successful in sports, in life, to be successful. The big difference is that the clock doesn't run out.
Exactly.
I mean, you die, that's the clock running out. But you're never going to see the end of the game. You're never going to have the post-game conference.
if you're doing the work, then you're always having fun playing. You're just playing the game. Like, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm trying to.
That's it. That's it. If you're doing the work, then you're having fun playing the game.
Yep. That's the knowledge drop right there. I mean, it is fun for me. I've never been, and like I've said, I've had really depressed times. I've had kind of depressed times. I've had really stuck times. I've never woken up the way I wake up these days in the past 2 years, and especially the past year, where I am ready to take on life. You know, me and you we were texting or we were on LinkedIn at like 5:30 in the morning, 6 a.m. You know, like I was, ask my mom, like ask my ex-husband, I was not a morning person. Like I didn't want to see the light of day. And I mean, now it's like, I can't wait for the day to start. And part of that is from doing the work, you know, and just trying to be my best self every day.
So I want to take what we said there, and I want to leave the conversation on this because this is really, really good. And I think it's a great takeaway for everybody, and they should reach out to you if they need help doing this. But if you're doing the work and you're not having fun playing the game, you're not doing it right.
Exactly. Or you're doing the wrong work. Yeah.
Or you're doing the wrong work. So I think if you are doing the work and you're not having fun with it, that's a great reason to reach out to Annie, because she can help you find the work to do to make sure that you're having fun.
Right.
And which another weird thing, I put a post out today about that. I said, are you having fun? Because you're supposed to be. Like most people forget that, like,
we're crazy aligned, my man. We're crazy aligned.
Is right there.
You forget to have fun. And it's like, I'm a really silly, fun person. Like, I'm always laughing. I'm always, you know, there's a serious side, but like, come on, man, we got one life. Let's have fun. Let's laugh. If you can't laugh at yourself, you know? I
think that's the importance of remembering that you really, like, what happens today is so important, because once today is gone, you've lost that opportunity. Like, so, and there's going to be days that there's going to be some really bad shit that happens to you.
Yes.
So like, if you can't have fun on the days where the bad shit isn't happening, when are you going to have fun?
Take advantage of those moments. If you can grasp onto those moments and have fun during those moments, then you're doing okay. If you don't know how to do that, come talk to me. We'll talk about
Annie, where should people find you if they need to find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Annie Leib, and it's Leib. Everybody misspells it, so don't feel silly if you do. And it's just AnnieLeib.com, ANNIELEIB as in boy.com. And you can reach out to me anytime. I'm super accessible and just like ready and willing to help. It's what I was born to serve. So here I am.
Well, Annie, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for taking the time with us to do this. This was fantastic, unbelievable knowledge dropped. And if you guys need some help, if you want to have a conversation, if you just want to have a good conversation and just get some great energy in your life, reach out to Annie. Thank you, Annie. Pleasure. Glad to have you in the tribe.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate you. And I know we were meant to meet, but I'm just super psyched that we got to do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Peace.